Welcome to my channel where OP gets a spanking for his mistake. Our next Reddit post is from a user. When I worked at McDonald's a few years ago, I was getting a drink for a customer, and I accidentally hit the carbonated water button instead of the lemonade button. The customer didn't notice and left. No big deal, right? Well, maybe 20 minutes later when I went to clean up the mess, I noticed that it wasn't just water that came out. There were also ice cubes in the cup. I was about to throw the cup away when the manager on duty grabbed it and said, "Ah, perfect. We got a free cup of soda." He then drank it, smacked his lips and said, "It's on the house," and walked away. I was confused, but relieved. 5 minutes later, he called all of the employees into the office and began to write something on the dry erase board. He wrote down the words Employee of the Month and crossed them out. Then he wrote down Free Drink of the Day and checked that. He said that if any one of us gave a customer a free drink of their choice, no matter what it cost, it would be considered an outstanding act of service and they would receive this award. He then proceeded to hang the sign on the wall next to the register. I felt a sense of dread knowing that someone could get fired over a free drink. Fast forward a few days, and I am working the drive-thru. A family of 4 comes through. I take their order and everything seems fine until I go to give them their drinks. This time I double-check the order and make sure that I give them the correct drinks. I hand them their food and they are fine. I wish I had stopped there. But after they pulled up to the window, I decided to say, "Have a nice day." To which the father replied, "No, you have a nice day," and they drove off. At first I thought nothing of it, but then I started to feel like I was being watched. Every time I took an order, I couldn't help but think that I was going to mess it up. Finally, I decided to take a break. I walked into the kitchen to grab some water and the manager was standing by the door with a sinister grin on his face. He congratulated me for giving the customer a free meal and said that I should keep up the good work. I tried to explain that I only did what I was supposed to do, but he cut me off and said that it was okay. He knew that I was just trying to help out the customer. Then he handed me the Employee of the Month plaque and hung it on the wall. For the rest of my shift, I tried to warn the other employees that they might get in trouble for doing their jobs. I don't remember why I quit the next day. But after reading this story, I'm glad that I don't work there anymore. Yeah, rightfully so. That manager sounds like a total psychopath. Imagine getting praised and rewarded for messing up a simple order. Like what if you messed up more than one order? Would you get like 3 plaques? Also, I can't believe you actually gave them a free meal. Dude, you made a mistake. It wasn't your fault. You didn't have to pay for it. Our next Reddit post is from another user. I was working the fry station and this lady comes up to the little window where we pass the fries onto her. She's always rude and makes comments about how slow we are. So this one time she starts in on how slow we are and I just look at her and say, "Ma'am, if you would just hold on a second." She tells me to hurry up and I tell her that I will, but I'm not going to give her the fries until she stops being rude. She goes, "What did you just say?" I simply reply, "You heard me the first time, lady." She yells at me and calls me At that point, I've had enough. I take the fries out of the fryer and put them in her box and say, "Here you go, lady. Hope they're hot enough for you." She says, "What's your problem, huh? Why'd you take so long?" I just smile and say, "You tell me," and walk away. She starts yelling at me, but I don't care. My manager sees it and asks what happened. I tell him what she said and did, and he tells me that I handled it well, and leaves her a note saying that if she is not nice to employees, she won't be welcome back. Yeah, that guy in the manager position probably got promoted to that position because he never stood up for himself. So now he has to listen to some Karen berating him and his employees. So finally, he has someone who will stand up to these Karens and he can sit back and relax while someone else deals with the Karens. That was my channel. And if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episode. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new videos every single day. Welcome to my channel where OP runs out of the restaurant. Our next Reddit post is from a user. This happened years ago, when I was about 18 years old and working at McDonald's in a small town in Canada. The restaurant was understaffed and underpaid. There was a new manager who tried to make things better, but the owner wouldn't approve any raises or extra hours for the staff. This put a lot of pressure on our manager, and she would often get in trouble for things that were out of our control, like not enough supplies, no hot water, wrong orders going out, etc. One night we had just finished cleaning and closing procedures. We were sitting around waiting for the morning crew to get there so we could leave. All of us were exhausted and just wanted to go home. The doors were locked and the sign was turned off. Suddenly, the emergency exit door at the back opened and the manager came running out with a wild look on her face. Gasping for air, she looked like she had seen a ghost. She frantically started dialing 911 on her cell phone and screaming that someone had broken and was hiding somewhere inside the restaurant. My coworker and I looked at each other and started laughing because we knew what was really happening. The manager had taken so much stress and abuse from the owner over the past few months that she had completely snapped and was now imagining things. We politely told her that we didn't see anyone break in and that she should probably calm down. She hung up the phone and called us all into the office to explain. She said that she had been getting threatening phone calls from the owner and she was sure that he was coming into the restaurant at night to check up on us because he could untrust us to do our jobs properly. She had even mentioned this to my coworker and I during our shifts, but we all assumed that she was joking. She said that she had heard him breaking in and was too scared to come out of the office. She was expecting him to pop out at any second and start yelling at us. My coworker and I exchanged glances again. We both knew that the only way this story could possibly get any crazier is if the manager started seeing things. Well, we thought that it might be a good idea to humor her, so we started pretending to be scared and said that we were gone. Nah, hide in the freezer until the morning crew showed up. We even made up a story about how we were pretty sure that he was gone. Nah, come into the kitchen next. So while the manager hid in the office, my coworker and I went into the freezer together. In about 15 minutes, the owner did call to ask if we had closed properly. My coworker answered the phone, and while he was talking to him, I started to quietly laugh. The owner was asking why the lights were left on and if everything was okay. My coworker kept saying yes, but I could tell that he was trying very hard not to laugh either. The manager must have been listening in on the phone, because she came running out of the office and started screaming at us to be quiet. Then she got on the phone and started yelling at the owner. When she hung up, she told us that we were both fired and to get out of the restaurant. She apologized for how we were treated and paid us for the rest of the week, since we were UNI scheduled to work anymore. My coworker and I walked out the front door and turned to see the creepiest scene. All of the outdoor lights were turned off and the restaurant was pitch black. The only light came from the emergency exit sign. We both looked at each other and burst out laughing. Opie, I am glad that you were able to find humor in the situation, but I would have lost it when the manager started acting like you were being robbed. That's when I would have known something was up. And then when the owner called and you were like, yeah, you're right, the freezer's a great place to hide from an intruder. That's funny. But yeah, this manager lost it when she thought the owner was coming to check up on her. Our next Reddit post is from another user. I used to work at McDonald's as a teenager many years ago. One night while we were doing the nightly count, we found a bag of money behind the counter that was full of quarters. We looked everywhere to try to figure out where it came from and eventually just gave up. The assistant manager said to split it between the three of us, so we each pocketed a couple $100. The next day, my regular manager came in and asked if any of us had found a bag of money. I lied and said no. He explained that the customer before me had ordered a beverage and given the cashier $20. Then they had backed out of their order last minute, leaving the drink and the money. When the cashier counted back the change, they noticed that instead of giving them $19.75 back, they had given them $19.50. After searching the area, they figured that the customer must have left the money behind by mistake. He then asked if any of us wanted to come with him to chase the customer down. I immediately blurted out, I already spent it. He looked at me and asked where I spent it. I told him that I bought a bunch of candy with it. Then, he started to yell at me and accuse me of stealing. I tried to defend myself, but he kept interrupting me. How can you defend yourself? You stole company money. Then he told me that I needed to give back what I spent and buy back the candy and bring it here. At this point, I was really starting to get upset. So I told him that I wasn't buying back the candy. Then he told me that I wasn't allowed to leave until I did. So I ended up sitting in the lobby for hours, waiting for my shift to end. Yeah, that sucks. I don't know why you had to sit in the lobby. I think you should have just sat in your car. That was my channel. And if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also hit that subscribe button because I put out new videos every single day. Welcome to my channel where OP gets a surprise when he opens up his present. Our next Reddit post is from a user. This happened years ago when I was about 19. I had just started working at McDonald's as a cook, and I was making decent money for the first time in my life. I was also attending college part-time. One day I came into work, and there was a box in front of my employee locker. The box was obviously addressed to me. I was very confused because I wasn't expecting any packages. I asked my manager if she knew anything about it and she said no. So I took the box home that night. When I got home, I opened up the box, and inside was another box with a lock on it. And inside of that box was an alarm clock radio with a note attached to it that said, "For when you're late for work again." Confused and slightly scared, I took the box back to work the next day. I asked my manager if she knew anything about this, and she said no. I asked her if maybe we could just put it in the lost and found, but she said that I should keep it until I figured out who it was from. It sat in my locker for weeks, with me never opening it, until one day my manager knocked on my locker while I was working and said, "You need to come with me." She took me into the office, and my now ex-manager was in there, and she was smirking at me. When I looked down at the box, my manager said, "So, do you know what's in this box?" I responded, "No, but if it's something bad, I swear I don't know anything about it." My ex-manager said, "Let me show you." She opened up the box and removed the alarm clock radio and placed it on the manager's desk. Then she reached into the box and pulled out a pair of scissors. She continued to reach into the box and pull out more and more pairs of scissors until there were like 20 or 30 pairs of scissors piled up on the desk. My ex-manager then looked at me and said, "I want you to take these to the back and put them all over the fry station." So I did what I was told and went to the back and put the scissors everywhere. Scissors were literally falling out of the vents in the ceiling by the end. My ex-manager and manager both started laughing hysterically, and I was just standing there dumbfounded. No one even thanked me for my service that day, and I quit the next day. Yeah, rightfully so. Glad you got out of that toxic environment so quickly. You definitely dodged a bullet there. Our next Reddit post is from another user. I used to work at McDonald's years ago, and one of my coworkers told me a story about something that happened in the middle of the night during the cleaning shift. They were cleaning tables when they heard a loud bang in the dining room. Assuming it was a customer, they didn't think much of it. However, after they finished cleaning, they went to go check the cameras, and they noticed that during the bang, someone had literally jumped onto one of the tables, flipping it over. But that wasn't the weirdest part. The weirdest part was that when they checked the camera from the front of the restaurant, you could see the front door open. Someone walk in, flip the table, and then walk right back out again. The most disturbing part is that they couldn't figure out how the door was able to open, since the front doors were locked at night, and the employees had to swipe their card to get out. How this person got in and out without setting off the alarms remained a mystery. To this day, my friend still works there, and has never forgotten that terrifying night. Yeah, that's creepy. I bet that place is haunted. I can't be the only one that thinks that. If you enjoyed this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also hit that subscribe button because I put out new videos every single day.